Today we're going to talk about the
dumbest thing
I ever heard on the internet. Some people say that eating raw does not give you enough
variety for a healthy microbiome.
I think we all know who says this. There's a few of them. They hang out together, actually.
That's gotta be the dumbest thing I ever heard.
And you know what? Do you boo? I'm obviously talking about John Kohler.
I'm obviously talking about John Kohler.
If you want to eat cooked food, eat your cooked food. Don't eat it out of fear that you might not be healthy as a raw vegan. Yeah, there's plenty of ways to fuck up a raw food diet. I see him, he does not look like he's happy. I'm sorry, he looks like he's living out of fear.
This is John Kohler with okraw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. This episode is going to be like a rant-style video. So, I don't really know why people make videos the way they do, but what I want to do today is show you guys the truth, right? There are some, mistruths proclaimed in that video that I want to 100% dispel. I think one of the main things the person was attempting to argue was that something to the extent of this, in my opinion. From what I heard, John Kohler says you got to eat cooked food because the raw food diet, you don't get enough diversity. All right, so I don't necessarily remember saying that particular fact. That being said, what I will say is that, a raw vegan diet could have enough diversity to specifically, right, have an excellent microbiome test, because that's what I'm really into. I'm into the microbiome, and I will say I have personal friends, actually, and she makes it public, her microbiome testing.
Today, I'm going to share with you the results from my January 2024 Ombre Lab test. The last test that I had, July 2023, my test score was 94.14. This score has gone up by 2%. 2% in 6 months is a really, really good increase.
She has a phenomenal score in her microbiome test, and she eats all raw, so, and I see what they eat, and they're as raw as can be. That being said, their diet, in my opinion, based on all the experience and seeing what people eat on a raw vegan diet, visiting friends, seeing what's being taught, is very atypical. They eat a lot of things that most raw vegans don't eat. And of course, besides just your diet, there's many other factors that will contribute to your microbiome score besides just the foods you're eating. How much sleep you're getting, how much exercise you're getting, so many different other factors. I'm not gonna get into them all because we are talking strictly about diet today. So I will straight up say, the truth is that if you eat a properly planned raw vegan diet and you have the right microbiome inside you and everything's going right for you and you got all your other health factors under control, I'm gonna say you could have a kick-ass microbiome test according to what is currently known about the microbiome now. That being said, I would personally say, based on all the microbiome tests I've seen, and I've seen a number of my friends tests that have been eating a raw vegan diet for many years, right? And they're not all as good as Lissa shows in her microbiome test. Also, none of the people eat like Lissa and Nate eat, right? They spend a lot of time doing food prep and do a lot of cool ingredients and things and eat things that most raw vegans don't eat, right? So the testing that I've seen from my friends, including myself, which I publicly put up my microbiome test so that you guys could see it, link down below to that video, is that I wasn't where I wanted to be, right? Does this mean I'm eating out of fear?
The people that are so worried about their microbiome, they're not thriving. They're living out of fear. I'm sorry, he looks like he's living out of fear.
No, I'm just trying to improve, man. If you're like running a race and you get second place, are you the next race you run, you try to beat the guy that beat you the first time, are you running out of fear? No, you're just running to try to do your best in life, right? And trying to do the best in your race. That's just what I'm trying to do in my life. I'm trying to do the best I can because, here's another thing. I got into a raw vegan diet because when I first got into it, I thought that a raw vegan diet would give me the, ideal health that I wanted. And back then when I learned about it, the microbiome was not even discovered. They've discovered a lot of things, since I got into eating a raw vegan diet. And back then, the raw vegan diet was one of the best things. But now, knowing what I know, seeing how the raw vegan diet personally affected me, right, caused me to think about, hey, do I need to continue on my path of doing raw vegan when my microbiome test is not that great, right? Or not where I would like it to be. And that's the conundrum right there, right? A lot of you guys may not give a crap about your microbiome. You may think it's full of BS. You may think it's just hogwash. You may think it doesn't matter. And you know what I'll say to you guys? If that's what you think, that's how you need to live your life, right? Why worry about me and my channel and what I'm doing when I'm sharing about the microbiome, which is talked about in science, which, you know, major doctors, medical institutions, researchers that have been researching the microbiome for 20 plus years see all the connections that the microbiome can make, right? Maybe you're not eating the raw vegan diet for the same reasons I am. And that's fine. I don't really care what reasons you guys are eating the raw vegan diet. I'm eating the raw vegan diet because I needed to rebuild my immune system because I almost lost my life. And of course, I want to be as healthy as possible and have a nice, you know, healthy lifespan and health span at the same time. And, you know, a lot of you guys may not care about these kind of things. You're just eating because you enjoy the taste of fruit. And if you enjoy the taste of fruit and care nothing about your, you know, future potential health or longevity, dude, enjoy your freaking fruit, man. Why are you watching my channel? When I go deep, I go places that other raw vegan channels don't go, right? I am a divergent thinker. I'm not going to say I'm not. I think a little bit differently. I read a lot of studies. I take in knowledge from a lot of different places, combine it in my head, see what happens to me, and see what I'm going to do based on what I've learned. And if you don't value what I've learned or my personal opinions, I can appreciate that, and it's cool, right? So that's what I'm going to say. You know, before you start making personal character attacks against me and not specifically what I'm doing, which I think is just ridiculous, is, you know, just start saying John's this or that when you don't even know me. And it's like, why attack me personally, right? Let's talk about what I'm doing and why it is important to me and maybe for some of you guys that are out there for viewers like you. So another thing that was said, like, so you could pay off science, you could get any study you want, you could get science that says eggs are good. You get science that says meats are good.
You can find science on the benefits of eating dead animal body parts. Why doesn't he read that science? Because he picks and chooses the science he wants to read, the research studies. But like, you know how many research studies prove that eggs are healthy, that eggs are great for you, that eggs lower your cholesterol?
Well, you know, if we look at isolated studies, you could of course prove pretty much anything. You, of course, have to look at the funding for the study, and then more importantly than just looking at one study, you need to look at a whole bunch of different studies, or more importantly, long-term health outcomes, right? Mortality, you know, because these are long-term studies that in most cases you can't really mess them up, especially, you know, if there's like 10 studies doing a similar thing that look at similar variables and they all come up with the same result, which in science, I mean, the main result is for health and longevity, you want to eat a Mediterranean-style based diet with very few animal products, if any, and of course, whole food, plant-based. My personal assessment on that is that, you know, you need to make it a high nutrient diet. That's one of the reasons why the Mediterranean diet works, plus all the variety of different plant foods and fibers. That being said, if you don't believe in science, why are you getting a blood test to say, I got a blood test, I posted the video, you know, a couple years ago, my blood tests are fine. That means I'm healthy.
And my blood tests show after 13 years, my protein levels are higher than average. I have 0 deficiencies. I'm not deficient in vitamin B12, D or D3, K2. I have no deficiencies. Why in the world would I change what is working? If it's not broken, don't fix it.
You know, and here's the thing. If you think just because you did one blood test, you're healthy because of that, more power to you. I would encourage you to consult a doctor. I get regular blood tests to make sure that my markers and stuff are not changing, getting worse, so that because what you monitor, you can make adjustments and change. I mean, here's a really cool quote. The testing will tell you what your body needs, right? Not what your mind needs for optimal health, right? We could convince ourselves of anything in this life. You know, like we could convince ourselves meat is good, and we could find the data and evidence to reflect that. We could eat a lot of meat. Then we do our blood test, and maybe some markers are great, and there definitely will be some markers, according to some of the blood tests I've seen from carnivores out there, that are not so great. Of course, you could ignore those because you're ignoring science and you're just listening to people that talk about a carnivore diet and how these certain numbers on your blood test don't mean anything, and it's not going to matter when there's, epidemiological data over time that shows that maybe those numbers are not that great, So you could also do this as a raw vegan, get blood tests and maybe not be optimal, but then think it's all right. I'd encourage you guys once again, if you have any health problems, consult a medical doctor. I am not one. I'm just sharing with you guys my personal opinions and my thoughts on my YouTube channel. Now, while blood tests are great and let you monitor to see what your body needs, right, there are many other tests you can do to see how your body is doing, such as DEXA scans, right? I did a DEXA scan. If you track something, you will know where you're at and you can make adjustments if you feel it's important or not. Maybe you'll get a DEXA scan, you won't do anything with the information. Maybe you get a DEXA scan, it says your visceral fat is super sky high, and high visceral fat is not a good thing for longevity and overall long-term health based on the science. That's if you believe the science, right? Once again, I want you guys to be informed and have the knowledge you need to make the health choices you want. I do things on my channel that other channels may not do, and that's just my personal journey, right? That's what I'm saying. You could get a microbiome test, right? Not to think that, if you believe eating fruit and a high fruit diet is the best for you, right? And that's great, your mind thinks that, but what does your microbiome think? Let's not forget, raw vegan diet, copious amounts of fruits and vegetables can get you lots of nutrients. You pretty much won't be nutrient deficient if you eat a properly designed raw vegan diet. That's the other point, properly designed. You could eat a improperly designed vegan diet and be super unhealthy, and then you'll make a video why you went carnivore because you ate a non-properly planned or non-appropriately planned vegan diet. I mean, dietitians say an appropriately planned, vegan diet is healthy for all life stages. I believe a properly planned raw vegan diet could also be appropriate for all life stages as well. That being said, most raw vegan diets are not appropriately planned because, you're missing trace minerals and you may be missing other constituents and nutrients if you're just haphazardly eating. Link down below to my video where I talk about one macronutrient, protein, that you could be quite deficient at if you're eating a raw vegan diet, haphazardly eating too much fruit, not paying attention to how many vegetables you eat, or just not even choosing the right fruits. If you ate all fruit and chose the right fruits, you could absolutely get enough protein. But most people just haphazardly eat. Oh, I eat until I'm satiated, eat enough calories, I'm gonna get enough protein. That's not necessarily the case. So the other thing to remember is that while raw fruits and vegetables have lots of nutrients, right? And nutrients feed us, right? Very important. We can't forget that if you acknowledge that we have, in some cases, more bacteria than human cells inside us, and that our microbiome is important, I want you guys to consider your microbiome. So that is where really things shifted in my brain when I started considering, hey, I've only ever eaten all the nutrients for me, and yes, raw foods could get me all that, but when I started thinking, hey, I want to eat for my microbiome, what do they need? And that's not what I think in my brain. That's based on my microbiome testing, right? When Lissa saw what her microbiome needs and she dialed in her raw vegan diet to keep it raw, she was able to up her score and make it even better, right? When I tried to dial in my raw vegan diet, trying to increase my diversity in a raw vegan space, didn't really shift my microbiome. But when I started eating additional kinds of prebiotic fibers, as well as resistant starches and other heat processed foods, I'd see my microbiome diversity level go up. And to me, that's one of my goals, and that's a good thing. We'll throw it up on the screen. You can see my diversity level went from 750 to 850, and now it's pretty much up to 950 now. So that's approximately, about a 25% increase in diversity. And of course, diversity score is, it is said that a high diversity is good for long-term health outcomes. So that's why, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because to me, this just makes logical sense. A lot of you guys out there aren't logical, and however you guys want to live your life, that's fine. If you guys want to live your life based on dogma and a book that was written, 50 years ago on raw vegan natural hygiene, which I believe a lot in, but I've adjusted my thinking over time based on the latest research, based on what's going on, also based on my specific testing, so I could see, once again, what my body wants, not what just my mind wants. Yes, your mind may want fruit. So, here's the thing. I want to give you guys a couple snippets without, pulling any kind of specific science to make you think about how important our microbiome is. All right, so the common argument I've heard for, getting people to eat more vegan foods or plant foods is like, hey, how much protein is in mother's breast milk? And then they say the protein amount, and then they're like, that's how much protein plants have or fruits have. Why do we need more protein than when we're a baby and we're growing the most? So I want to bring you guys back to that. What is the ideal food for humans? I know some of you guys might be thinking, fruit. Fruit's the ideal food for humans. We're frugivores, man. What I will say is that the ideal food for baby humans is mother's breast milk. And yes, while it does contain about 54% lactose, which is basically milk sugar, which is basically carbohydrates that feeds the baby, it also contains 32% fat, 6% protein, and more importantly, even more than protein, what's the percentage of non-digestible, right, fiber in mother's breast milk? 8% of these things called oligosaccharides, or specifically human milk oligosaccharides. Why would God, nature, whomever put these human milk oligosaccharides that the baby cannot digest directly? That 8% of mother's breast milk, and there's over 200 different kinds of human milk oligosaccharides, doesn't feed the baby. Nowhere in the baby can the baby absorb the human milk oligosaccharides. The baby can absorb and digest the carbohydrates and the fats, but all the human milk oligosaccharides go through the small intestine into the large intestine, and that's where they feed your microbiome. I know a lot of you guys don't even know this because you guys don't look up the science, but why would mother's breast milk have this human milk oligosaccharides if it wasn't important to nourish the baby's gut microbiome, right? I was not breastfed as a child, right? And because of that, I believe that my microbiome was not properly formed or, created or whatever, right? There's some dysbiosis going on in there. And that probably led to some of the health challenges that I had later in life, and you could get a perturbed microbiome for many other reasons, from eating the wrong diet, from getting antibiotics and taking antibiotics and all these other things. And I'm no microbiome expert, guys, but this is just my take on it. So the question for you guys is, if 8% of mother's breast milk is this human milk oleosaccharide, right, that don't feed us, that feed our microbiome, what are you eating in your diet that actually feeds your microbiome, right? Do you even know? Is it in fruit? Yeah, okay. Maybe if you eat green bananas, there's some resistant starch and some non-digestible carbohydrates that will feed your microbiome. But here's the thing, guys. Fruit, as compared to other, classes of plant foods, such as vegetables and even beans, right? Even some legumes and potatoes, which are a vegetable, right? All those have higher percentages of the fibers and prebiotics that will feed your beneficial flora. So, so this kind of goes along with microbiome test data that I've seen from other long-term raw vegans where their microbiome test was not kicking butt, despite them eating as much diversity as they could. And of course, maybe they were happy with where their microbiome test ended up with, and maybe they're trying to make a few small changes, and maybe they're going to test again to see. Maybe their microbiome test is just not even important to them. I mean, whatever it is, like, I consider the microbiome test important part of my health markers, not just my standard blood tests. And I would encourage you guys to do a microbiome test, especially people that say, I get enough diversity on fruit, I got a blood test to prove it, but they have no microbiome test, because I'd love to see. And if you're eating an all fruit or almost all fruit diet, and you have a kick-ass microbiome test, I'll shut the heck up. It's as simple as that. That being said, I've heard from microbiome experts, and I hope to interview one on my channel really soon. And, I kind of repeat what they say, because I'm definitely not a scientist. Some microbiome researchers will say, hey, you need to eat 30 different plant foods in a week, right, to get enough diversity. Can you even find 30 fruits to eat, depending on where you live, I suppose? But then the microbiome expert that I listen to and I trust, he's been doing this for 20 years, looking at microbiome outcomes, also seeing, the health and health challenges that people have, and then after he works with them to adjust their microbiome to get their number higher and to get the diversity greater and get the proper ratios of certain bacteria, he sees health problems literally go away. Now, he says to eat 40 different, plant foods in a week. And, so that's my goal. So that's why I say diversity. I'm just not making it up out of thin air, right? And if you're eating only raw, eating, you know, a higher diversity of foods can get more difficult, right? And so that's why I started including some heat processed foods to, you know, make it more easy to get a diversity of foods as well as resistant starches. Links down below to my video on that. Now, you know, some people are still listening to this video. They don't really believe me or understand it. You know what? I don't expect everybody to believe me or understand what I'm going through, my diet or lifestyle. It is quite different and extreme. You know, I've been mentioning another raw vegan channel say, you know, I live a, you know, definitely unique life, you know, and I'll accept that because my life is different. It's a lot different than most of you guys live. And that's just what it is, and I'm cool with that. Now, another reason why the microbiome is so important to me is because it is said that the microbiome makes up 70 to even 80% of our immune system, and of course, I had an immune system challenge, which is what got me into the raw vegan diet. My personal belief is simply this, right? If you're eating a standard conventional food diet, you're down here and your microbiome sucks ass, and then you start eating only raw foods, you're eating more plant foods and whole plant foods, minimally processed plant foods, than you ever had before. That'll improve your microbiome from where you were, right? For some of you guys, maybe you're gonna get to like be kicking butt on your microbiome test. You're gonna have 90 plus on your score. You'll be in a really good space just by eating raw vegan alone, right? In my opinion, that's gonna be a rarity. That's not gonna be the norm in my opinion, but I need to see more raw vegan microbiome tests. So please guys, get a test and put your test up in a video so that other people can see what's going on. That being said, I don't think that most people eating a raw vegan diet really focus or worry about diversity. They worry about getting enough calories and enjoying life and getting enough fruit. And so the microbiome test may not be that good. So then you got to ask yourself, do you want to improve or not? And once again, that's a question for you guys, not for me to answer. You guys know what I did. I started including small amounts of heat processed foods, processed in the least way possible and heated the least way possible to make them palatable, edible, so I could, you know, get a diversity in my diet without creating all the excess carcinogens and toxins that can be in most cooked foods. And that's the other thing, many raw vegans will just lump all cooked foods in one category. Cooked food equals bad. This is old dogma, guys. I tried to dispel it. I have many videos discussing, you know, the different, you know, continuum of heat processed foods, and some heat processed foods and cooked foods are quite bad, and some, you know, could be good in my opinion. So, and this is me basically looking up the science, you know, and also trying and experimenting on myself to see what happens when I eat certain foods. And of course, you guys could do your own research. You're likely to come up with the similar things or very similar to what I've come up with. But if you don't believe me, do your own research, spend tons of hours. I mean, for fun, people think I don't have fun in life. For fun, I love to garden, number one, but also too, when I'm bored, I'll just go to Google, scholar.google.com, and I'll like look up stuff to research, because to me, learning is fun. Maybe for some other people, they'd rather be swimming in the ocean and seeing the nasty sweet seaweed next to them.
Every day, I live on the Atlantic Ocean here in Miami. I go to the ocean and I'm swimming in it, and sometimes there's seaweed. I don't get turned on by the seaweed. I don't salivate by the seaweed. I don't want to be near the seaweed. In fact, I swim away. I avoid it. It's gross. It smells. It's not attractive to humans. But then,
you know, and I personally think seaweed is an amazing food. Very important to get enough iodine in a raw vegan diet. If you're not supplementing, taking supplemental iodine, you're likely to be deficient, in my personal opinion. You know, I'd rather eat some clean seaweed, right? Not only for the iodine and other trace mineral content, but also for its unique fibers and other properties, you know, because to me, you know, seaweed is just vegetables of the ocean. So the thing I want to say in my video is that I believe in evolutionary biology. If you believe evolutionary biology, right, then you believe that, you know, there's bacteria on the earth and other different microbes that then kind of formed greater creatures and more complex creatures. Here's the thing, all during, you know, the world's history, there is a ecology, right? When there's too much of rats, then maybe the foxes would increase in numbers, because now they would basically eat all the rats. They would have food to basically reproduce. They would kill all the rats. If they ate all the rats, then their numbers would decrease, right? This is called an ecosystem. Likewise, you know, we have an ecosystem inside us, and that's why, you know, if you have lots of rats and you don't have the predator of the rats, you're going to have an overgrowth of rats, and that's how our microbiome works too, and that's what I saw in my personal microbiome testing. I had an overgrowth of the Prevotella copri bacteria in me, you know, because I was basically giving it the food that it really liked. You know, I did some research and I found that Prevotella doesn't like the potatoes. And guess what? As a raw vegan, I haven't been eating potatoes for 25 plus years until I started eating them. So maybe if I did eat a few potatoes to get the fiber and the different compounds in the potatoes that the Prevotella coprorate doesn't like, it would encourage other microbes to grow, and I could have a more balanced ecosystem or more balanced microbiome. So that's what's really important to me, is to take your ecosystem into consideration, your microbiome, which I feel to be quite important. Once again, some of you guys may watch this like, I don't believe in that, John. I just want to believe the old books and what was taught in the past about raw food, and that we are frugivores and we need to eat a species-specific diet. I mean, the other thing, me thinking about like evolutionary biology, is that while we may have eaten way back in time only raw foods, I will say also, I also believe that men discovered fire, and that also there's books that talk about, especially evolutionary biologists, believe that, you know, cooking made us human, not because we cook meats, but because now we could access the higher, you know, reserves of energy in like foods like tubers. So, you know, not as long as we've been man, but for the majority of, as we've been man or humans, we've been eating and cooking tubers. If you look to this date, many indigenous populations around the world subsist on not fruits, but they subsist on carbohydrate-rich tubers. You know, that's why Dr. McDougall will say we should live on tubers. I'm definitely not going to say that, but I would definitely say that we should probably consider eating some tubers, because it can be quite beneficial, as I've personally seen for my microbiome. Of course, some tubers could be eaten raw. Sunchokes, if you want to maintain your raw food label and include tubers, but how many of you guys ever eat sunchokes? I grow sunchokes, 2 different gardens, and pretty soon 3 different gardens. All my gardens will have sunchokes growing in them. You could also eat things like jicama, which I buy on a regular basis. It has a fructo-oligosaccharides, but if you're on an only fruit diet, you're not eating jicama either. And of course, my favorite prebiotic fiber is in the yacon, which I freeze-dried the other day, and the freeze-dried yacon chips, they taste like potato chips. They're like so sweet, so delicious, they're so amazing. Anyways, link down below to my video where I discuss, you know, the 3 prebiotic roots that I believe at least you guys should eat if you guys want to stick to your raw vegan label, you know, to get more of these prebiotic fibers in you. So what I want to leave you guys with after watching this whole rant video, where I'm quite passionate about this topic, is I just want you guys to think about things, right? Think about ecosystems. You know, consider that you have another ecosystem inside you. This is something I never considered in my whole raw vegan diet. Maybe some people on a raw vegan diet still don't want to consider they have a whole ecosystem within them. You know, then you could take antibiotics to your heart's content and wipe out your ecosystem, and then call me in a few days to see how your health is doing, right? Our microbiome is critical to our health, and while I believe that, you know, eating solely, you know, properly planned raw vegan diet could get you to have an optimal microbiome according to the current testing data and how they analyze it, I believe that for most people, a raw vegan diet is likely not going to get them there, okay? And that's where I'm at right now. And so if you want to prove me wrong, what I'm going to tell you guys is this: get a microbiome test. If you want to talk BS about me, get a microbiome test. Put your results up on the screen for all to see. Don't be scared to hide behind words. Words are cheap. Doing a test definitely costs some money, will take some time, and then you could know the truth. And if you want to say, hey, my microbiome test is 50, and I'm happy with that, that's up to you, you know. But at the same time, you know, when other people have 98 or 90 plus, you know, microbiome tests, like based on the science, and of course, if you believe science or not, you know, that's my goal, that's my target, and you guys could do whatever you guys want to do. And once again, this is my channel. On my channel, I share my personal health journey, just hoping that one of you guys out there, this rant, this video, all my videos I put up on all 3 of my channels, will just help you take your health to the next level. It could be a step that big, and if it even helps you progress that much in your health journey, I could pat myself on the back knowing that I'm doing a good job despite all the critics out there that may not understand me, may not even personally know me, and just like to attack my character, and instead of attacking the specific information and data I provide. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, be sure to share this video with other people that are on a raw vegan diet so that they can learn the truth about if you get enough variety on a raw vegan diet and if it is even possible, because I'll tell you guys the truth. I'm not trying to make anything up or sway you any ways that you guys don't want to do. You know, do whatever you guys want, but I'd say in the end, get a microbiome test so that you can see where you're at and make adjustments if you see fit. And you could keep your diet raw if that's your main motivation and you believe in it so strongly. And if not, and if your microbiome test is more important than staying in dogma and maybe getting your score higher, getting a better diversity, maybe getting better health outcomes in the future, you could do that as well, because that's what the path that I chose and what I'm sharing with you guys on my channel. Also, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes I've coming in 5 to 7 days. You know where I show up or what you've been learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to sharing you guys my personal health journey and all about the raw vegan plant-based diet so you guys could better your health. Links down below to some of the videos I've made in the past about me, including some heat processed foods, why I specifically do it, as well as videos on why the microbiome is so important to your health, in my personal opinion, my personal microbiome test, how to do it yourself, as well as the resistant starch video, which I believe is quite important for raw vegans to watch, as well as my video down below where I talk about the different levels of heat processing your food and which ones are better and which ones are worse if you want to avoid the toxins, but also increase the diversity in your diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.